So you are still listening to the We Are West Ham podcast with me, Will Pugh, Tom Edwards and James Jones, and the commentator from the infamous West Ham Clips alternative commentary on Twitter there, joining us to make his selections ahead of the Tottenham game, the London derby, the one that all the Spurs fans pretend they don't care about, but we all know that they do really, judging by the abuse that they tuck into West Ham fans with on Twitter after said game. Sunday the 21st of February, 12 noon kickoff. I'm delighted to say that joining us on the We Are West Ham podcast, again, returning guest Alex Milne, sports journalist from the Mirror and a Tottenham fan for his sins. Alex, great to have you back with us again. And normally going into a West Ham Tottenham game, one of the teams ninth in the league, one of the teams fourth, one of the teams having lost 4 Premier League games from their last 5, and the other team having won 3 and drawn 1. We're used to that sort of thing. The only thing is it's normally that we're the other way round. Tottenham 9th at the moment. I've seen a couple of your meltdowns on Twitter about Spurs. What do you feel more annoyed about, Tottenham's position in the table or West Ham's guaranteed qualification for next season's Champions League?
Oh, what a beautiful introduction. Cheers, Pew. I can safely say this is probably the Spurs West Ham game I've least looked forward to over the years. And I've got just going into a weekend with a sense of dread, despair, despondency. And I can see from the grin on your face that you feel quite differently. No, I've got to give you boys credit. I was just thinking how quickly things have turned around from even back towards Christmas. We were sort of still fighting near the top. I don't think anyone thought we had a chance of the title or anything, but we were still...
Everyone did.
No, we didn't. Not
everyone was saying it.
Wouldn't go that far. But anyway, things were looking good. You know, obviously the football wasn't great, but we were still at least, you know, in and amongst the top 4, whatever. West Ham, you're having another one of your boring mid-table seasons, maybe battling against a relegation dogfight, and now I just don't know what's going on. It's all quite depressing, isn't it?
Alex, where has it gone wrong? Everyone's pointing their fingers at Mourinho. But surely there's more to it. It can't just be Mourinho being Mourinho, or is it?
I think if you've seen Spurs even from the end of the start of last season towards the end of the Pochettino era, this is the thing. Everyone's pointing the finger at Mourinho, but we haven't played well for a long, long time, really. And I think right now it's just a culmination of a lot of things coming together. I don't think Mourinho is helping the situation. But, I mean, anyone could tell you our back line is just atrocious. You look across anyone, you can look at Lloris, you can look at Dyer, Alderweireld. None of them are good enough anymore. And I think that's where the crux of the matter lies. We saw it in the FA Cup game against Everton, where finally Mourinho kind of let the shackles off and let us have a bit of a go and a bit of attack, and we shipped 5 goals. I mean, it's just... I think that's where we've got to start rebuilding. We know that Mourinho is a defensive manager, but we've got a team that cannot defend. So I'm slightly worried about how we're going to deal with the likes of, Ben Rama, Souček. I think Antonio will be back, I presume, for the weekend. He always scores against Spurs. So, yeah, I mean, it's a complete mix. There's a maelstrom of things going on at the moment at the club. And, I kind of want the season to be over now. But who knows? This season, things can change around so quickly. A nice London derby win, and then maybe things will be looking good again, but we'll see.
Alex, one of the things which has been business as usual is Harry Kane. His performances, he's been pretty much unbelievable again. He's put up the same numbers as he always does. I know he's had a few injuries. But looking forward, how long can you expect to keep him? Because he is probably the top 2 or 3 strikers in world football, has been for 2 or 3 years now in terms of his numbers in every metric you look at it. And I know he just became the 2nd top goal scorer at the club and all that, but surely he would want trophies now. And I know you got the League Cup final and all that, but surely he's aiming higher. What's it like in the Tottenham camp? How long do you think that you can keep him? And does he want to stay there long term?
I think it's a very difficult one. I think, as you saw in the Amazon documentary, when Mourinho first came in, he was genuinely on board with the idea. Mourinho gave him that pep talk and said, "You're going to explode under me," and to a certain degree, he has. I mean, his stats, as you've touched on, have been sensational. His partnership with Son's been amazing, and in a way, I think he will want to stay, as you said, to break those records. He's so close to becoming, top scorer for Spurs. There's a very good chance he could go on and break Alan Shearer's record. We know he loves stuff like stats. And I mean, I don't know about you. I can't imagine him going to Real Madrid, Barcelona. I just can't see him going to Spain, which leaves the question of who could afford him in England. You could argue City, United, but it would take a hell of a transfer fee. And in these times, I'm not sure if I can see it. So I think if there was a suitable option on the table, he'd definitely consider it. But I just cannot see where that offer is going to come from and who could realistically afford him. Does he want to stay? I honestly don't know. If I was him right now, I'd be getting fed up because I'd be thinking, look, you've promised me trophies, you've promised me progression. I'm not seeing it. It's not like he's not been loyal. He's been there years and years, and season after season, there's been links and he's stayed. But yeah, it's slightly worrying. But for reasons I've just said, I still think he'll be here next season.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I could only really see him going to Man United. I don't think he suits Liverpool, Manchester City as such, his style of play. Yeah, and whether I could see United pulling it out of the bag, to be honest. But another man who's come in this season, I remember reading an article or two of yours, and not just yours, to be fair, journalists across the spectrum writing about the homecoming of Gareth Bale and the Welsh wizard returns, etc., etc., etc. It really hasn't turned out very well for him at all. Mourinho's been critical publicly and privately of the winger. Dele Allis having a bit of a stinker of it at the moment. What do you make of those two players, their situation? Again, same question as was asked earlier. Is it Jose or the players? That seems to be split in the football world and all the pundits at the moment, whose fault it is. Where do you point the finger of blame with their two situations?
The Bale one is the one that I'm most baffled with. Ali, we saw kind of was regressing, and I think, to be honest, he could do with something like, as we've seen with Lingard, he just needs a fresh start, a little loan away, maybe an opportunity to rediscover his very best form. The Bale one, without sitting on the fence, I think it's a bit of a 50-50 situation here, because he does need to be starting week in, week out. And I think when he gets 10, 15 minutes off the bench now again, he's not the sort of player who can come on and make an impression. He needs to start, 2, 3, 4 consecutive games to get into the swing of things. On the other hand, there have been, rumours that he's not been putting the effort in, that he's kind of treating it as a bit of a holiday, that, if he's got a slight little problem, he won't battle through that and he'll get all worried and go to the medical staff. We saw a situation last weekend was a bit of a farce with his Instagram post that Mourinho didn't seem to take too happily to. So I think there's been a bit of a clash of egos there, a clash of personalities. Ultimately, I think it's going to affect Bale worse because he'll go back to Madrid and that'll prove the end of his career from there. But it's a very frustrating one. And we saw again the other day when he came off the bench against City. It was only one moment. There was just that little moment of magic where he jinked past 2 players, 3 players, had a shot, which shows he has still got it. And if he gets given a run of games, he might still be able to produce that. But I think he's leaving it too late, to be honest. We got a few months of the season left, and he's yet to be given a real chance. I don't know if he's going to be given the chance to do it now. We're running out of games and competitions, unless he pulls something out of the bag in the Europa League, maybe, or scores a hat-trick against West Ham. I wouldn't say no to that. But yeah, a very, very strange situation and not a very savoury one, really.
Alex, looking ahead to this weekend, normally when West Ham and Spurs meet, whether it's Upton Park or London Stadium, the atmosphere is pretty good. Not going to have it this time for obvious reasons. How do you think this game's going to go with both sides in such different form, but without the atmosphere that this game normally brings in East London? Do you think that might sort of change the dynamic a little bit, or do you think that we're kind of beyond that now, and it's just going to be 2 teams, one in form, one out?
Yeah, I can barely even remember what it's like to have fans in, to be honest. And I'm sure the players are used to it now as well. So I'm not sure the fan aspect will necessarily play a part. Obviously, it's still a derby game. I think your boys will be bang up for it, as you always are. The issue for us is, I think, Thursday, but we looked knackered. I'm not making excuses because every team are knackered, but we looked knackered against City. We've got a Europa League game on Thursday. I can't see Jose rotating any players for that, really. I think we've got to go all out for Europa League at this point. So I can't see much rotation. I think the likes of Kane, Son are all going to play, and I think they'll be pretty jaded by the time Sunday comes around. And it's just going to be a case of, I think, I don't know, I really hate to say it, I can't see past the West Ham win, honestly. The way you boys are playing compared to the way we're playing, and without the aspect of the fans maybe in the stadium, My prediction, if you were to predict, I'd go for something like a scrappy 1-0 or 2-1 West Ham. But I don't know how you boys think about it, what your predictions are, but I've never been less optimistic about football in my life, I don't think.
Yeah, you do seem somewhat glum. That's body language and tone of voice for a man who seems to be beaten.
Shoulders slumped, looking at the floor. I don't know.
No, I think I'm still a bit nervous, but I think ultimately, like you say, when you've got Kane and Son there, even if you concede 2, which is feasible. I saw your tweet comparing Davinson Sanchez to Bambi on ice the other night, which did tickle me. But I think when you've got Kane and Son in your team, as we saw when we played you at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium earlier in the season, you were 3-0 up within, 21 minutes or something? Just absolutely whang, bang, bang, bang. And I think that can happen, can't it? It's not like when we played Sheffield United the other night. We might be able to dominate possession perhaps, or seem like we're better for 85 minutes of the play, but it only needs to get within a sniff of Kane once. It sounds like a bit age-old cliches that, but he only needs a yard or two, and if they're both playing, they can turn it on, can't they? And so I'm still a little bit nervous. Well, look, Alex has given us his score prediction there. Tom, what's yours for the game?
I think it'll be 1-0. I don't think it'll be. I think we're playing probably better than you think, and I think it'll be close. I think we might just nick it. I think we'll have a set piece will do it. Tom Souček, 1-0.
James?
I'm pretty apprehensive about it, but I always am when we come up against Spurs. In my charity bet, I've got to draw both teams to score, and as much as something in my head going, yeah, this is the best time to play, and we'll get 3 points. I'm just trying to keep my feet on the ground, and it's going to be a draw, very tight affair. 1-1.
Draw, yeah. James, I know it seems like I've been copping you a lot in recent times, but I have got a feeling as well. I think Moyes will know that with all the other positives that are going on at the moment, if he comes away from it with a 1-1 and doesn't lose, that's not the end of the world at all. Yeah. I think it'll be two teams, neither a team wanting the ball, both teams being pragmatic and trying to sit back against another team who's sitting back. And the ball will just be in the centre circle. No one wanted to touch it. Everyone's doing that for 90 minutes. We'll see. Well, look, Alex, it's great to join us, even though it was one of the glummest opposition view guests I think we've ever had. And that's saying something, because we had a Sheffield United fan on last week, and even he was more upbeat than you, I think. But Alex Milne there, sports journalist from the Daily Mirror and Tottenham fan, thanks very much for joining us. Stay with us.